to redefine. We are here to kind of redefine things. It is very simple. It's just an attitude and it's just a mental makeup, what we are looking for. And while Dattaji is here, I will always say that I have got a mentor even before I have started talking or presenting what my views are. And I would rather look for his guidance and how to take this further. But one thing for sure, that Rotary Club of Bombay Seacoast will be doing a project, initiating a project on restoring an area for urban biodiversity conservation. That is for sure, with Dattaji and Lalit being here, and seek the support of Meenakshi and the team from ESRAG. Thank you very much, Lalit, and thank you very much, ESRAG, and thank you very much, Rotary Club of Bombay Seacoast. And what I would say that it incidentally happened to be an informal talk, and over a period of time we have been chatting and we have been saying that kuch to kare yaar, including the urban rivers in the Mumbai city, for which I had done some project earlier on. So what I'm looking for is I will share more, I would say, spread of menu so that we understand across that what is there. But what Dattaji actually explained, I think most of it is in the same lines, but this is about more land restoration and also looking for, how do you improve the biodiversity? And I don't have to explain the biodiversity part of it, especially in the first lockdown. What we realized is our streets without cars, without vehicles, and the rest of the impacts. We saw birds, we saw animals cutting across the streets. And what we really find is people enjoyed, people posting peacocks from Mumbai and Malabar Hill. And what I enjoyed was people who have been saying kuch nahi hai Bombay mein. They were here to say that everything is here in Bombay, and especially the nature and the biodiversity. I'll share my screen and so what I'm looking for is biodiversity conservation in urban areas. Focus is more on urban, and there are some case studies which I was associated, and especially the water sensitive cities co-authored book which we did with CRC Australia, and we were doing the capital city of Amravati. So though the project didn't get through, but we were experimenting that how we can get into this kind of a system. And after that, we have been doing a lot of, I would say, presentations and inviting people that please restore your areas, so that the implications of that is that save nature, save water, save trees. So all of them are linked. One of them is missing, you really don't have the biodiversity part of it. So here we are looking for nature-based design solutions. And one of the proposals for Bombayites, especially I'll say, is when we submitted our proposal to Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai for restoration of three rivers, Dahisar, Oshivara, and Boisar. That time, the concept which we, with the Australian counterparts, which we worked out is de-concretization and naturalization of system. So that is what is, I would say, the concept which I am looking for and sharing. Nature-based design solutions, as Dattaji said, it is low cost, no pipelines, no manholes. All you find is a different kind of a landscape. Are we willing for doing something of that kind, which is a challenging assignment? It does get to you, when you come across the conventional planners, especially, that we are looking for sab kuch straight line hai. Life is not straight line and nature isn't. So that's the background on which I am sharing this, and more of, I would say, pictures, less of gyan, and there is a lot to take away. Just to share that what we have in 1950, we were only 30% of the people were urban population and 70% was rural. By 2050, that's about 100 years down the line from 1950, we have 30% rural and 70% urban. So it's an inevitable process, and we are already into it by crossing even 50% of it, and we are ready that how do we take it further. So it's a trend which is going more toward concretization, more toward urban areas. So urban biodiversity becomes more and more important, that we start doing something very, very, I would say, committedly, that we have to do it. We have no choice. Else, we will have concrete trees, which you find in most of the places, or you will have plastic greens everywhere, the staircase or the office or anything else. So we will be further polluting the environment. So this is just to get that this change in the picture from rural to urban, as for urban focus. While talking to Lalit, one of the issues which he shared was, can I say something about an urban planner? You know, people have opinions about them. And I just thought, let me share. As an urban planner, which we conventionally or traditionally call as town planner, it is different from urban designer. It is different from a civil engineer. It is different from an architect. A lot of them claim that they are urban planners. I don't think so. Each one of them is different. It's like a gynecologist, an orthopedic surgeon, or a heart surgeon, or anything else. But an urban planner is an urban planner whose job is to communicate with public continuously, analyze data, conduct inspection, and create maps and diagrams, and then creating a balance. So if you see the picture, we have too much in our hands to handle. Everything which matters to an urban area is part of us, but it has to be adaptive and responsive. So that's the principle on which I work, and I have worked, and I continue to work, that I have to be adaptive and I have to be responsive. That's what I learned from my earlier colleagues, senior colleagues, and I continue to pass it on to my junior colleagues too. So that's what is all about an urban planner. If you have opinions, this is what is the positive opinion about an urban planner. What do we really do? Is we get into finding problems and also finding the solutions of it, identifying, recognizing, understanding, and ideating is one area which I am here for. Then collating, visioning, planning, designing, implementing, negotiating, resolving, managing, and bottom line, which I always say, anything in, out, around any urban identity and settlement. And we work on the DNA of the urban identity or settlement. That's what I look at it. Anything you say that, I was doing the rehabilitation resettlement, I was dealing in the Kurla area, I learned something different of the local economy, which operates purely on worker-based economy. This is all about the DNA. So it has to be a central information storage system. If others could do it, we too can do it. That's what I always believe so. And most of it and everything is there in an urban information system, which can collate and create and extrapolate, so that one interaction or one activity will have an impact on something else. So better watch out. So we do it very, very scientifically, very structured approach. That's what I'm looking for in an urban area. So this is just to share what an urban planner or urban entity does. And it's a unified vision of team collaboration through collective intelligence. I have done quite a few of them, and I'm sure you in your own professions must have done, pushing ourselves to put it together. I am pushing now Datta Sahab, and Datta Sahab will have to push me. So, and CCOs together and ESRAG. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay, let us do a collective intelligence approach and find out a project which we can do it. And we have to break the silos and we have to start working together. I'm there. All of us are there. Just for the clarity of what biodiversity is, it's a definition given by the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity in 1992. is the variability among living organisms from all sources, including inter alia, terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems, and the ecological complexes of which we are part. This includes diversity within species, between species, and of ecosystem. And the bottom line is bio and diversity. Diverse the landscape, diverse the system, better it is, and healthiness. It's like रोज अगर दाल रोटी मिलती रहे शायद हम बोर हो जाएंगे. But what we are looking for is, if there is a variety is the spice of life, so we have it, and we create certain biodiversity system in a very, very structured way. And water is important, land is important, and we have to convert the waste into a resource. So that's the kind of a approach which we are looking for. There are case studies which you will see now, that being using barren, derelict, marginal spaces into thriving biodiversity spaces. These are the acts and rules. So I think this is just, I would say, it is to regulate the access to genetic resources and protection of biodiversity, and establishment of statutory bodies, which our senior colleagues mentioned earlier, promotion of in situ and ex situ. We have to look at it, but I have been promoting more on in situ, because if there is an area within the city, how well can you target it, how well can you study it, and how well can you rejuvenate it, and how well you can ensure that the biodiversity is created in that space. How did we lose, or how are we losing, is habitat transformation. And urban areas, each one of us sees, and me and Lalit have been talking that, the area around Warsaw, how the mangroves are being lost, how the, say, the hills in Navi Mumbai is being lost. So there is a developmental activity and land use changes and conversions. Then pollution, I don't have to say anything. We have been experiencing everything here in Mumbai. Then introduction of alien species, especially when you get the trees. One of it is the gulmohar, which is becoming more and more into India. So is it possible, to stop that and build indigenous and native varieties, so that that is akin to the landscape, that is akin to the soil, that is akin to the space which it is there. A banyan tree or a peepal tree or anything you see, you start finding the birds are chirping, you have quail, you have parrots, you have everything possible to do that. Then over exploitation, less said the better. And then climate change is a word which is being talked about in every place. But I always say, पहले घर तो संभालो यार, बाद में climate change की बात करते हैं. No, I am not looking from a very, very large angle, though I am on a different platform, probably I'll talk climate change. Here I'm looking, can we as Rotarians together create something, for ensuring that local biodiversity is created in that area. That's the bottom line which I'm looking for. And I'm sure it has larger implication. There are drop in temperatures, and UHI, that is the urban heat island, that also gets impacted. And overall, you will find people find सुकून मिलता है जब हरियाली में जाते हैं. So can we create a sukoon in going in the haryali? That's what is the entire game plan. And in urban areas, primarily, what I see and what I enjoy is every space is different, and try to find like residential, commercial, industrial, open spaces, dump yards. Dump yards are also another kind of an area where you can have a different kind of a system which is there. But though it is detrimental, but it's always there that we need to take care of that and also kind of change it into a positive space. Railway yards, because they are hardly used. For instance, Parel and area I have been watching, you will find it has its own ecosystem. There are trees which are growing, which is more indigenous. Airports, artificial landscape, manicured, straightforward, beautiful looking, right out of the beauty parlor landscape. So are we looking for those kind of things, or are we looking for something very natural? Then water bodies, we are looking at rivers, lakes, ponds, wetlands, forests, open spaces, gardens, open drains. For instance, I enjoy watching them because you find a lot of water snakes there. Holding ponds, sewage treatment plants, Ghatkopan and Warsaw, it is there. Go around that and you will find the biodiversity is absolutely different. And there is one of my colleagues is doing a study on one of the pumping stations, and he comes back and tells me, I got this one, sir, I got this one. I said, perfect, let's study and keep it ready. Bottom line, multidisciplinary coverage and diverse expanse. That's the kind of thing which we need to consider. These are some pictures from Australia with alluvium, where I was associated with the project, and we were trying to do similar things in Amravati, capital city. And each one of us would agree that these kind of systems is what we are looking for, not the standardized closed box type stormwater drains. This was one study which it was shared by CRC on the water sensitive cities, is from 2000 to 2009, how this Bannister Creek changed. Can we do a similar thing in one of the creeks? See, I always look at it, they could do it, why can't I do it? And what was the interesting part is the change in the temperature. And all of us know green landscape increase commercial value of estate. Is it possible to do it? And how do we de-concretize stormwater drains and see that it is generally used for parking, but can we make it a nature trail? Can we walk in the mornings? These are some areas, ideas which we did with alluvium. Here it's the company. No, here what I'm seeing is you should watch these lines at the bottom. Here we are talking about technical design and the thought process. Can we have a street which is so green? I know people keep talking about there is political pressure, there is slums, and there is poverty and all these things. But how come in certain areas in Delhi, or how come in certain areas in Mumbai, and how come in certain areas in Chennai, you have such landscapes? So it is about decision, it is about the institutional structure, and it's about the will of doing something positive for our cities. This is a classic case study of Delhi Biodiversity Foundation, and that is through the TTA. They could look for biodiversity sites, and 7 biodiversity parks who have been developed, and there are, I think, 3 more coming on the way. What they have done is the entire study is being done very, very scientifically by the DDA, where you have biodiversity experts, where you have landscape experts, there are water experts, and there are wastewater and stormwater drain experts, all of them putting together to ensure a space which is generally being dumped by solid waste would be converted. And one of the first things which I would like to share is critical for these kind of things, what Lata Saab also mentioned, going to the municipality or the local body, institutional arrangement, tie-up, network has to be done. Without that, it doesn't work, because you may do it, but the government or the local body may have other plans. Point is, how do you, if you remember the earlier 2 pictures which I had shown about the jigsaw puzzle, both of them pushing themselves to join it, unless we do that, it doesn't work out. The municipality, the ward office, the government, or any other body, it becomes very, very critical at the ward level to discuss, share, and put it forward so that the jurisdictions and responsibilities are clear. Otherwise, we will start pointing fingers. You didn't do it, I didn't do it. You didn't do it, I didn't do it. That doesn't work. It has to be a seamless, I would say, a relationship between the institutions and bodies which we're looking for. And these are the 7 areas. And I have seen the Yamuna Biodiversity Park part of it, and also been to the Aravali Biodiversity Park. So these 2, if you see that it is in Delhi, it is in concrete jungle, it is part of an urban area, but you find biodiversity. Okay, so I will just share some pictures. I will not go too much into the technicalities. If you want, I can give the names of the persons and the people who have been involved in it, a couple of my friends and colleagues. So what we can do is, if we find something similar, can we do it here or any other urban area, prima facie? It's a 457 acres. It is in two parts. 157 is an inactive floodplain, that is the higher areas, and 300 is an active flood zone where flooding, and you have within Maharashtra, we have red zone and the blue zones or blue lines. So it is within that what we are looking for. And what we have done is we have considered every possible feature which can get into fruit yielding plants, butterfly, mescal, sacred grove, what we call in Maharashtra as devrahis. If we can create those devrahis, and what currently some of our friends are doing is you have this Miyawaki forest being created. So they are trying to convert it something similar to a sacred grove, though it does not have the cultural and the religious connotation, but creating a groove. So it is thick forestation. And then what we are looking for is, if you can create a range of it, if you can, continuum is very important in nature. It doesn't go by straight jacket, block number 1 and block number 2. It has blocks together. So that's what we are looking for. So the bottom line is creating long functional corridors. And why Yamuna Biodiversity Park is important is it's a living laboratory where scientific experimentation has done wonders. So it is not an ad hoc one-time approach, going and doing something or doing a photo is my motto. No, it is your passion, it is your commitment, and your will to transform a space into positive energy. In Biodiversity Park, Lalit, how much time do I have? Lalit?
We have what, 25 minutes?
More or total?
More.
More. Okay, thank you. I'll complete. So what we're looking for is, any water area with low oxygen levels, what really happens is you have invasion taking place. So first thing is improve the water quality so the aquatic species are there, especially the fish, which is a very, very good bioindicator. And along with that, the water quality can be improved. And I will share one of the pictures where I put my nose into the wastewater and I found that the water quality had improved. So that's also a bioindicator. If it doesn't smell, it doesn't stench. So I think that's what we are looking for. Then constructed wetland is a system, especially on in the rivers. We have NEERI doing a lot of work, and there are a couple of other IITians who are doing this constructed wetland systems, wherein you create the bio systems, and they are there to kind of process rather than wastewater coming in and just getting into another treatment plant, but it is going through a wetland system. So it travels, it meanders into the landscape. And I had recently visited this place, Nimli, where you have Center for Science and Environment has set up a constructed wetland system. All the waste is consumed within the organization. It's a relative large space, but it was such a beautiful thing that you don't find that there is a drain which is below, or there is neither a smell of it. So we need to create, use the plants, use the soil, because soil can absorb most of the nutrients. I think that's the plus point of it. Concrete will not. So what we are looking for is, how did this Yamuna riverfront come about? It is very clear. It is an in association. So this Center for CEMDE, I think that's where we have a lot of these experts. Dr. Babu is there, who's an expert on it, and he has done a lot of work in Delhi. So typically marginal lands, typically areas where we find they are not active floodplains, or they are not being used but part of a larger system, which we find in Mumbai, that most of the land along the creek or along the sea coast, which were prima facie with mangroves, is being dumped with all the waste, construction waste. And I think this is an area where we can think, yes, there are issues. We can sit down and sort it out, how to go about it. First is, whom do we approach? Do we approach the forest department? Do we approach the mangrove cell? Do we approach the municipality, or do we approach somebody else? If you are very clear how to go about in a institutionalized structure manner, I'm sure we Rotarians can do a lot of good work. So the catch point here is naturalized riverfront development, not concrete, what you find in Ahmedabad for Sabarmati. As Sabarmati, the beauty parlor approach, I don't think it can really give you the nature back into your space. There are people working in Pune for naturalizing the riverfront. Then it is the institutional relationship, and water hyacinth had to be removed, then constructed wetland system, and possibility of replication of model. I think this is where we Rotarians should be able to do it. If Seacoast is able to do it, we can go across the country, we can go across the world, say that we have done it. And this is what is a critical point, coming together, putting all your energies. And if you are able to create a model, maybe a small piece of land, 5 acres, 3 acres, 2 acres, I would say that we have done something and contributed, and we create domesticated kind of a biodiversity zone. Domesticated, say it's a created one. What you find there? Nilgai or blue bull. I think this is something which has come back to that space. You will find grassland. You find grassland as a very, we will go and do plantation across the country. We find a lot of places, say in Solapur, I was talking to one of the Rotarians. He had done a tree plantation drive during July. I said, boss, why did he do it? He said, a barren land. It was not barren land. It is for the great Indian bustard, you need grassland, not trees, because it's a bird which moves on the surface, not a tree. He said, Acha, that is the kind of a knowledge on which we are looking for, and can we improve upon that and share, get more and more people to ensure that we get these kind of things back into the space. What is biodiversity? What are we trying to do? We have 200 species of birds, 75 species of butterflies, 10 species of snakes, and mammals like porcupine, Indian civet, wild boars, and nilgai. I think this, if we are able to get it back, and first lockdown proved it, that we can get back the original inhabitants of the space. We are all encroachers. So it is this context which we'll have to share with everybody, but let them give it. Anything you see a snake, you want to kill it. Be very clear. I know there is a fear. And one of the, I have created a small kind of a thick forest kind of a space in my society with a lot of struggle. One day a snake came in the afternoon, which I came to know after I came back from office. Everything was ripped apart. I could see from the gate my house. I said, boss, ये क्या हो गया? He said, नहीं, एक सांप आया था. मैंने कहा, वो लाल वाला? बोला, साहब मालूम है. मैंने कहा, हाँ, वो वाटर टैंक के पास गया ना. बोला, आपको मालूम है? मैंने कहा, हाँ, मालूम है. बोला, नहीं, वो आप बोलिए मत, बहुत बवाड़ मच गया. So this is what we react to. We see something, we want to finish nature. And small little thing, because of our own insecurity, insensitivity, and lack of knowledge. If we know, we won't have removed our garden space. This is typically a picture. You can see everything. And this is the first picture is what we should be creating. Sorry. We should be creating, non-manicured landscapes. This is where people live. This is where our friends go and stay. And you will find, you move, suddenly you find a lot of birds flying, a lot of animals moving, a lot of insects. A lot of things are there in that space, which otherwise you on a concrete or a tile you won't find because it's spick and span. See the kind of mounds being created, there is life into it. And see this number of birds which is there. And this is an interesting thing that in Aravali Biodiversity Park in Kurikawa, I think this is what our friend was saying. Here you find Bengal monitor, common palm civet. All the birds and animals are here. But there is an interesting part which you see. Here you have Gujarat, then you have part of Rajasthan touching in and then getting into Delhi. So the Aravalli range is not confined to Delhi per se, but it's a continuum. What is it? It's part of a large biogeographical zone. So while we are doing all this, we need to have the understanding whether if I change something in a particular area, whether it is a area where it can spread. For instance, the Khargar wetlands and the Khargar hills in Navi Mumbai. It's a continuum between the hill, between the plains, between the water, between the ponds, getting into the creek. So that is the sequence of activity, and they all have kind of an adaptive responsibility, and they manage very well. Recently, there were two jackals seen by one of our friends. He photographed and says, "Kedar sir, kya karenge? Kaam karte hain. Let us go and meet people. That's the only option." There's another one. Here we are talking about range and water body relationship. Water is primarily an important activity for restoring nature. Dry spaces too have, but we are the kind of thing there also water is required. You go to Jodhpur or Jaisalmer, small water bodies or plants which give water are there. And this is what we are looking for is if you are creating a range, then water body and space relationship needs to be understood and maintained. Then you have Kamla Nehru, then you have Tughlakabad. So what we are again coming about is in this Tughlakabad thing, we are looking for a sewage treatment area, a restoration of lake area to attract birds. And interesting part in Kamla Nehru, there were studies which proved, data proved that it has the leopard wildlife corridor. So here the takeaway is it's a wildlife corridor of a larger biogeographical zone. We have used treated wastewater sewage, restoration of lake. Now there was a one question within the group whether treated wastewater is healthy for bird life. So there were studies done, there were technical studies done, and the water quality was assessed. And they said yes, it is properly. It doesn't have any major contaminants so that it will impact the birds and animals, because we are then killing or perpetuating a different kind of a DNA within the birds and the animals. What we are looking for that if the quality of water is good, the continuity of the nature maintained. And Tilpat Valley Biodiversity Park is very interesting is that it is a combination of grasslands, hill terrain, and which were earlier sand quarries and dead water bodies with no forest cover. What did the citizens do? Here it is a citizen initiative. They have become pockets of, they have become green pockets, I would say. But again, what we are targeting is it had created a different atmosphere by creating a new kind of a biodiversity. The number 105 plant species, 103 birds, 32 butterflies, 15 heterofauna, and that's reptiles and amphibians and other varieties all coming together. Whether change in landscape through green cover alters the biosphere? The answer is yes, it turns it positive. If you do it the right way. If not, then we will be, if we are filling up the mangroves, if we are doing something to the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, or if we are doing something to the other areas of the city, then probably what we are doing is either promoting or killing. And we are here to promote the biodiversity and do something good for the city. This is closer to us. This is Osho Tirth. It's a Japanese style garden which I visited myself. And okay, I'll share the story later. This was a barren land with sewage nala running through it because the adjoining space was an MSRTC bus depot. And from there, the oil, the grease, all the thing was going through that space and people were using it for open defecation. What really happened is there was an architect who came and then there was another person, both of them together started working on converting that space into a resource. How do we do it? And this is one case study which has had a great potential for replication. And when I had gone there along with people from Ulhasnagar to fund projects from the MMRDA, environmental projects, there was an interesting case study which came about is municipal corporation adopted the technique to implement the Nala gardens. In the Nala garden, some of the case studies we saw was wherever the natural water bodies were there, they used whatever is not required from construction sites or anything, everything was dumped and they created a very, very beautiful, not a typical Nala which you find here. They converted into beautiful walking spaces, green spaces, and part of it was also part of the development control regulations, open space. If there is a builder, if there's a large layout, so it would be considered as part of an open space. So these are things which we need to have it in our mind that we are not looking for just one single intervention, but how to get into the system. So development control regulation, which regulates most of the development in any city in urban local body. Today we have a unified DCR in Maharashtra. So what we are looking for is, can we replicate a project similar to what was done? And the following pictures will tell you what is possible. This is all part of the Osho theme. And you will find it is totally non-concretized natural landscape planning and design. You don't find this, no concrete here, nothing. And when you walk in the morning at about 5:36, the chirping of the birds, evening after 5:36, after sun sets, you will find this space has got all kinds of voices. They have their natural voices of different birds and maybe small animals here and there. But that's what is a beautiful space. And the advantage is the Kurikawa Park transformed. This is how the wastewater was being moved. What did we do? It's water purification through aeration process. It is about geography. It is about topography. It's about geology and hydrogeology. Everything put together. So if you are looking for, I will create a stormwater drain or I'll come out with a technical solution that this is what it is. I think most of our planning in India, I can say it with a lot of conviction, is we are working, घर बनाया बस हो गया, parking lot बनाया बस हो गया, open space बनाया बस हो गया, but they are not being transplanted and put into our system. They are all a continuum of spaces. Here, this is a case study where you find really very beautiful. And in this space, I had put my nose to check whether it smells. I had gone down up to about 6 inches. It didn't smell. You find lotus here. So what I'm looking for is that these are bioindicators. You may have scientific indicators. It is necessary. But along with these kind of things, nature के साथ nature की तरह रहो ना. If you don't want to, then better constrict yourself. This is the probably the story. Chennai. This is a place to be visited. I'll go a little faster. Lakes and rivers within Chennai city are being abused by dumping of solid waste and disposal of wastewater due to lack of awareness on the values of water bodies and rivers, which plays an important role for lifeline for urban community. We were part of an international case study. So we had visited most of the places what we find here. So, but the first thing is creating an institution called Chennai Rivers Restoration Trust. And these are the different projects we are doing. So it's about eco-restoration and it is about a replication of a study done and then going ahead and doing how do we. If we do it only one time, probably no fun. Continuous, like a TRF, like membership, lage raho munna bhai. So that's what here we have done. And this is an Adyar wetland reserve. And I am not getting too much into the details, but all this was a dump yard. wastewater, but you could go there with huge number of visitors coming and visiting this space. We were also one part of the study team, but here scientists who are doing scientific study are permitted to do the categorically the entire area study. River basin and ecosystem institution and mission. Here is a new interesting thing which came about. You have these three things: river basin and ecosystem institution. Here the trust came with a mission that we will restore the water bodies, fully supported by government of Tamil Nadu. So Adyar Ponga, that's the park. Ponga means park. So this is what it became a bio resource center. And when you walk through this place, after 4:30, they tell you to leave because then the space is being taken over by our friends. Their space is taken over by them. So you find every possible thing coming in here. All kinds of birds, animals, amphibians, everything. So we are advised by 4:30, please leave. This is the landscape. They have different landscapes which is here. And if there is variety, the lifeline is different. This is the entrance. And this little last photograph is idli ka aata banate hain peesne ke liye. This is what they have picked up all over the city, these kind of things, and converted into artifacts. Number of trees, number of species, it is aquatic, terrestrial, and above. So ये जो है, ये I found the creativity, the design, and the effort. And here at the back of this place, you find a lot of these leaves being collected, which acts as a kind of a resource for the area to be developed. Reuse of waste material, natural design, artwork, continuing in space planning. It is just not looking at one single thing, but all put together. You can actually look at creating a better space. Now, away from India, can we guess which is this place? Anybody unmute and talk?
LA?
No. Closer home.
Honey,
No.
Singapore,
Yep. Who said that, please?
Arun.
Arun. Was superb.
Thank you.
And that's what it became. Entire area was de-concretized. A program was created. And what they did is old concrete canal de-concretized into naturalized. Are we willing to do those kind of things? The other case study which we did in detail included the labor and the informal sector and slums is Chengechong in Korea. That's also an interesting case study. Right in the center of the city, the road was ripped apart and a river restoration project was created. Are we willing for that? So this is just to show you the pictures. If you want to do it, we can do it. Experimentation. This is purely experimentation case study, and the kind of the team interactions when we had, we realized that if one solution didn't work, they went for the second. This is the along the riverside biodiversity pond and park. I'm just sharing quickly because my time is getting over. This is what it became. You can decide for yourself, a dead concrete or an active green space. Subsequently, the same space, you can see what it has transformed and changed into. And see, one of the things what we have to realize is these plants grow naturally and they are able to absorb the nutrients which is good for them and purify the water. if we look at this photograph, probably if we work out, what is the percentage of concrete versus the nature? If you want to go to the garden department of any local body, 90% is concrete. It has got steel, it has bricks, it has concrete, it has tar, everything. And whatever is left over is given for plantations and landscaping. Here you find that the concrete portion or the steel portion would be less than 5%. And they've used a lot of wood. This is just to share. This is building upon habitats, corridor teeming with biodiversity, suitable landscaping, and creepers or plants also part of it. This is water treatment. What I was showing earlier is ultraviolet treatment was given to eliminate any harmful biological contaminants without introducing any chemicals into the water. How it was done, we will quickly go because there was next. This particular part of the landscape is actually a water treatment plant through which the entire water goes. You will find the same wastewater people here standing in the water. And that gives a lot of kind of hope, a lot of confidence that it is possible to do it. And if you see the buildings behind, is the same building which was there in the first photograph of full concrete. This is a transformed landscape, and you see the people sitting enjoying. Let's do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kedar. Now, if anyone has any questions, they can quickly ask.
Kedar, can this be done on a smaller scale, or does it have to be a large scale always?
Okay, let me just.
Kedar, you can stop sharing the screen.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it practical to do this in smaller housing societies like in Mumbai?
Smaller in sense, what should be the size? Is it something like?
Which is what I want to ask you. What should be the size to take on a project like this?
See, these kind of things are generally larger landscapes. For instance, if you look at the Kurikawa Park, or if you look at the the Kalang River, or even look at the Chengichong thing or Tunga. But at the smaller scale, if you want to do it, it is possible to do it. For instance, in my own society with a lot of resistance, I would say a lot of opposition, I was able to plant one mango tree, one jackfruit, and one avla, and quite a few of other things. But only wastewater and solid waste treatment, if you want to do it, people somehow are not very comfortable about doing solid waste treatment within the society. But if there is a project, for instance, some of the projects which is coming recently, for instance, in Pune, I have seen builders who have taken large landscape, they have created more or less of policy what is happening in Singapore. They have left the open space, they want to rejuvenate it. My friends are doing the project. Say it's about a 70-meter long part of a water channel, which they want to rejuvenate. And with that, we want to continue and do it to other places. It's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. Have I answered?
So what sort of project, you were saying that Seacoast can do it. What sort of project should we aim at?
See, for instance, if there is any water body around your place or anywhere else which you feel you can have access to, I think we can take up that area. Or if there is, for instance, me and Lalit have been talking that can we do something to the rivers in Mumbai, small stretches, though I would say the banks of it has been encroached post 2005 after the floods. Is it possible to work it with the municipality and say that give us this small stretch of land? We have this constructed wetlands created, on small stretches of land where water purification will come naturally and take up. And of course, as collective power through the municipality, if we are able to do it, take up a local MLA and take the local MP and then say that we want to take up this as a project, just want to show the world. It's possible. But as a consultant, I was finding it difficult because you know how consultancies operate. I was able to go right up to the top and say, okay, sir, please, literally saying that, please let me do that. It didn't happen. It has been concretized with a 1,400 crore project. My project was hardly about 250 crores.
So maybe I talk to Lalit in greater detail how what can be taken up in our area. Because if it means that we have to involve the municipal corporation in every project that we do, then how feasible it is, although I mean, we know the councillors, we know the corporators, they're willing to do, but maybe their hands are also tied. I don't know how to work this one out. But I'll talk to Lalit and see what's.
Yeah, I am willing to contribute whatever the knowledge I have about the municipal systems and the acts and the regulations and the land use planning. So once we are very clear that this is what we are looking, there is a process by which we can follow it up. We can always put up a proposal through the Rotary or collectively and say that we want to do it. We want to show the world this is possible. And especially it being the 7th area of focus and currently, we can use that as a platform and go ahead and present it at least.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe in a small way we can start to set them, and then yeah. And
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Chaya Taralekar.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Very well explained. I'm very happy. One thing I want to share about my opinion. It might be wrong also, but I feel everybody should from the urbanites start from a simple things like solutions as a sustainable living, or as you explain, utilizing the natural resources around us, then the recycled material like that. And that also is uplifting natural surrounding ourselves. And the drop by drop, everybody from the urbanite can be adopt the same lifestyle, and we can make it greenery more. Is it possible?
Nice, I'm connecting. Thank you. It's possible. See, one thing which I got there when I had a doubt, we wanted to do it in particular part in Ulhasnagar for Valduni River. They called it a Valduni Nala. We did a lot of studies and we finally proved it on the Survey of India map that it's a river. And we went to Pune, we met the commissioner and we started following up the whole channel. And when we came across this Nala Garden thing, we wanted to find out where did the Nala Garden start. So we went to Osho Park, the Kurikawa Park, and we studied that part. Studied in the sense we took photographs, we met people, and when we saw it personally, we were able to tell our seniors and the bureaucrats, and because this is possible, they have done it. And we wanted to introduce something similar to what we're calling as the Nala Garden. If we could do it in Pune, I know one may call it an elitist approach, going to Koregaon Park and getting that area done. But point is, let us start somewhere where it is possible, where we want the area to be rejuvenated. We want to kind of put things in space in the right place also. I think what you're suggesting is possible, but yes, there is a group in Pune which is doing Jivit Nadi, which has been promoting, our lifestyles have to change. So stop putting chemicals, that is our perfumes and our soaps and our washing machines and everything. And similar team is doing something in Jaipur, where I'm on a 6th, I'm giving a talk on water sensitive cities. And what we're looking for is that if we can tap the source, like in Osho Park, tapping the source was going to the MSRTC, their yard, and telling, please don't stop using oil, stop putting the waste into that. So a system of treating their waste oil and their waste was also simultaneously given not only on biodiversity or restriction of water, but the oil had to stop coming into the water body. So that was also part of the project itself. But are we willing to do a comprehensive, holistic, I would say, life cycle analysis and say that, yes, we can do it? Why do we leave it halfway through?
Well, great. Thank you.
How is implementing ways like, just we have to approach to the local bodies?
See, I will tell you, of course, we can do detailedly after the talk, we can connect. The point what we need to share is, do we need to go to the local body for everything? If you're looking up, for instance, I have been trying to transplant one particular tree in one of the housing societies where it is on the wall, but the housing society is not giving up permission because it has got a religious connotation to that society.
Yes.
But if it falls, there are larger implications to the society people itself. So we are now involving the municipality. We are asking the commissioner, the additional commissioner, DMC, the horticulture department. It started as a small project. Mayor, deputy mayor, okay, please convince that we need to take a permission. And I can't touch the tree because it's in a private society. We will take a permission and say everything is possible. If you think logically, sequentially, it's like a machine, right? It's like a system. So if
Yes.
you're able to do it, you can do it.
Well,
Human society should, accept it, all those challenges to develop it and give the support also. I feel so. Not only the local body can be enhance what the points are required.
that was a great involving topic, and I think I didn't know that we will run out of time like this, and 1 hour just swept by. I'll be sort of breaking a little bit of convention here. Normally, one of our members gives a vote of thanks, but here we have also a chairperson of ESRAG who is here. So may I request Rotarian Meenakshi to give a vote of thanks to our Mr. Kedarnath Ghurpade.
Thank you so much, Lalit, for the privilege. President Sudhir Seth, it was wonderful that you gave not just an opportunity for your club members to attend this talk, but also all of us ESRAG members. In a way, environment is something which we only think we can go somewhere far away and see, and we do not think where we are living can be a biodiverse space. And Kedarji just blew us away by showing us how it's possible on a large scale. The same time, I think, we have to go back to how our houses were, not just in the villages or cities. This proliferation of Korean grass and this thing having a very manicured look has, drawn many societies and public spaces. I think by going back through reducing the concrete use, as how Kedar explained, should be the way forward. And I think as Rotarians, we have to start looking just around our house or in a colony and being able to do something. Thank you, Kedar, for a wonderful 1 hour. Never noticed the time flew by. Hoping to attend a lot more of such talks. And before I say good night, I would just like to thank Bombay Seacoast, and I'd also like to tell them on 2nd at 7 p.m. we're having a talk on pollinator gardens and pollination, which becomes very important in the way Kedar was talking about, is like, you just cannot have a biodiversity park which doesn't have a continuum. For most organisms, you need a continuum, and looking at pollinator gardens as a way of going forward for it is also a way in which you can design any kind of urban areas. Thank you so much. Thank you for the privilege.
Yeah, thank you very much, Meenakshi. And before I hand over the proceedings to our president, there are some announcements of the club, which I would like to. The physical meetings will be starting from this month. That's a good news coming for all members.
Cheers.
So we are going to have two very good fellowship meetings this month, and that will be a Dandiya night on the 14th of October and the Diwali Dhimaka on 28th. So there's going to be no speaker meetings this month. And on the 2nd of October, that is the Gandhi Jayanti, our own past secretary and the fitness guru Rotarian Sapna Pridarshi will be taking a yoga session. Yoga for the soul, she calls it, healthcare in the COVID times. Rotary Club of Seacoast, along with Rotary Club of Lotus College of Optometry, in collaboration with Rotary Club of Capital City and Rotary Club of NIBM Sri Lanka, Colombo, we are having this joint international meeting. The Zoom details have been given to all already. Rotarian Amit Das and Rotarian Kalpa Desai have really worked hard to bring all Rotarians and Rotaractors together for our first very different kind of a international joint meeting this year. Though we have been doing projects with Sri Lanka, this will be the first meeting this year. And coming to felicitations, we had a few birthdays. I will just quickly name them. And Nilima Chanti Parmar and Nomita Sampath Iyengar on 18th, Rotarian Vibha Vora on 19th September, Deepak Khilawalaji on 20th September, Surendra Soniji on 21st September, and Mangla Ashok Chandravakar on 23rd September, Rotarian Nilima Jayanti Parmar on 23rd September, and Alka Ravi Adukia on 26th September, Rotarian Kunal Kapadia on 28th, even on 28th was Nirav Parekh, and then yesterday and Geeta Harishani celebrated her birthday. Thank you. With this, I hand it over to you, President.
Thank you very much, Lalit. Thank you very much, Kedar. It was very, very enlightening. And we will maybe take small steps, but we would like to go ahead and see what we can do. And we will seek help from Avinash Lata in whatever way we can. Sorry, I will not be able to join the 2nd October because I am in London. And although Kalpa asked me to join, so I told her it will be 3:30 a.m. for me. So a little impractical for me to join. But she said, do try and see if you can get up at 3:30 just to say hello to everybody. But thank you very much. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
everybody.
Kedar.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great. Thank you.
We can do a 5-minute ESRAG board meeting now, I think.
I don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway. So see you, ESRAG members and anyone interested on pollination. We're having the talk on 2nd at 7 p.m. And you can contact Lalit for further details on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Lalit.
I'll be.
Bye, Lalit.
Hi, Ajay. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Great to see you.
Thank you for a wonderful session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.